Your top decks for December 2025 Phantom Revenge. Yeah, Phantom Revenge is here. So we're going to put Enneacraft on the list here to kind of start. I know somebody's going to be like, really, Enneacraft? So evidently, I've played a good chunk of this deck. I love the way that it works. Your flip effect interactions against Yummy are actually not too terrible. You have basically protection on your turn. The only thing you got to worry about is like a Murakumo being chain blocked, and then you're going to actually cry. But depending on the rest of the circle and the way that, the deck kind of evolves, I think Enneacraft feels very, very strong. It's just going to come down to you're going to have to take a lot of time to learn a lot of the initial combo lines. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a problem for players once they are actually in the driver's seat and actually start to understand why the deck works the way that it does and why Whale is just going to be your best friend for, getting that control off of the ground. Gem Knights. Yes, I left Gem Knights as like number 9. It was between this and Sky Striker, but Gem Knights currently have better topping conversion rates on the higher level. So I figured it was pretty appropriate. Gem Knight's whole job is to crack apart the opponent's board, go to town going second. If you go first, you roll out the Vingolf's Blessing, you go get the Archlord Christia, you laugh all the way to the bank as you deploy Archlord Christia. It was something that the deck was doing in Master Duel, but we've also been seeing a lot in the TCG where these very toxic boards that you're able to set up is just really, really good, man. So I got to give it to the deck. I think Gem Knights, there is counterplay to the deck. It's not a totally unbeatable matchup, but there definitely is a lot that you're going to have to initially work with to get from there. Next up is still Crystron. Crystron's kind of been fading away off into the distance. Like, the deck is not bad right now. It's just a lot of shifting from one event to another. There's a very, very large disconnect from, the lock that we could see with Crystron just to kind of falling off into not really doing too much of a consistent thing. Which I think does hurt Crystron's game plan a lot, but I have to leave it here because I think that being able to bridge from K9 into the Crystron combo, to be able to see, kind of that consistency that it feels like the deck was getting with a lot of those field setups, I think it's still something that you gotta respect, and you have to think about the perfect counterplays for this sort of stuff. So, yes, I think it's still very much there. And then we have Lunalite. So this is where we start to see the good stuff coming to town here. I think Lunalite, especially in its new incarnation of being able to support Branded within the deck, is hilarious. I've never seen the idea of us taking Lunalite, splashing it with Branded, to turbo up, give you another way to play around things or another way to absorb and, deal with hand traps. I think that's dramatically, kind of insane. Because nobody's going to, if you're playing Lunalites up until recently, I don't think anybody was respecting the fact that you could just whip out Lunalite cards and just slam your opponent on the table and they'd be like, oh, well, this is an actual problem that we're going to have to deal with. Yeah. Welcome to the meta actually changing, everybody. And then we have Draco Tale. I know it's kind of crazy to see Draco Tales, shift down from the top down to more of the midsection of Tier 1. Now, is Draco Tale a bad deck? No. But this is what happens when you start to have people side decking cards to stop the deck. I mean, look at Non-Fusionary. Non-Fusionary is being side-decked a decent amount to counter this deck. Any, Secretarian Dragons on the rise with Super Poly for you to be able to clean up, their field. It's not an unwinnable matchup by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, it's a lot you've got to think about while you're trying to play Draco Tale and go from there. So, I gotta still say, I think Draco Tale is one of the best decks in the room right now. It's just, we're under Malice syndrome right now. We got people that are now side decking for Draco Tale. Draco Tale feels a lot less impactful, and it just kind of sucks for that. Mitsurugi. So, good old pure Mitsu still doing its job. Futsu still being a great card that revives things. You're allowed to, just use the generate the advantage. Great purification, controls the opponent. Whatever extra floodgate good stuff that you got to bring in with the side deck to put that pressure on your opponent is usually going to be enough for Mitsu to change the tides of the game and be able to get things in your favor. Did I miss a single ounce of anything there? Because we shouldn't be missing anything. That should be pretty much the Mitsurugi special at this stage. I think for what Mitsu is capable of doing right now in its pure form, still makes it a very scary deck. It's just the pure variant gets to abuse Dimensional Fissure and kind of like the craziness that comes with that, because being able to not really give a crap about your banish pile is a very nice concept. And then we got little Yummy. So, at this stage, Yummy in its pure form is still something that I think we have to think about as an actual deck. Does it feel as good as it once did? No. Being able to incorporate an entire second package into the deck feels good, which is, Yummy Mitsu will come down to here in a second. But Yummy in its pure form, it just kind of set up Herald, use the big bodies to kind of control. And then you play a godforsaken amount of hand traps to be able to kind of make the deck work. I'm still surprised to see pure Yummy doing its thing, but especially when it feels like Yummy Mitsu is just a better deck at this point in time. But yeah, so I mean, it's really funny. Two parts of the same whole are pretty decent, but when you combine them together, they're still very, very strong. And then we have Malice. So Malice has been kind of dragging itself up here. Now, one of the reasons why Malice has even been doing remotely well is because nobody's side decking for it, except for more people going into Bologna. Definitely, we're looking at the concept of this deck, and they were definitely pushing more for this, which seeing more Lancias means that Malice should be performing less, which it kind of was performing less, honestly. I do think that when you're looking at the setup for Malice and its board, it's definitely a lot easier to deal with now than it has been in the past, which is an absolute win. All right, as long as I'm not getting blown out by like the stupid BS that kind of comes with it, I think that this is still fine to be like one of the best decks. But if the meta starts to side for it like Draco Tale, we're gonna retract back down. We're still leaving Yummy Malice, or excuse me, Yummy Mitsu up here. There are a lot of Mitsurugi variants as a whole that you can like play around with. You got to remember, like, Yummy Mitsu is a very, very strong monster, but I mean, you've also got variants like I've seen Mitsurugi Malice popping around. It really just depends on whatever deck I'm trying to play. If I can get synergy with it for Mitsurugi, then it's going to kind of increase its popularity or its power, just because setting up that little board wipe later on in the combo is very, very ignorant. It's going to continue to be one of those little slogfests. I'm impressed with how good the concept of being able to build Mitsurugi into a deck is, and when you've already taken one of the best engines with Yummy and shoving it in the top, makes sense. And then we have the king returning back to the throne. We have Vanquish Soul K9. It'll be left to be seen how long Vanquish Soul K9 will sit back on top of the throne. Because you gotta remember, this format, it's very much a revolving door of who's gonna be on top this week, How are we counterplay siding for the deck this week? And how are we going to be seeing, this do better? And I mean, Triple Lupus was definitely a defining point to see Vanquish Soul sitting on the top here for, post Phantom Revenge. I'm very excited to see where things are going to go here. And I'm definitely hoping that things are going to look very good with the future of the meta. But I mean, things are stabilizing right now. It's not terrible. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back there in day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.